Hello everyone. Today I want to share with you 10 criteria with which you can use in the formula Sumifs, Averageifs, and Countifs. I have this 10 criteria listed here. I think that covers pretty much everything I can think of when we use the formula. So I hope that you find it helpful as well. So to get started, this is the data set base that we're going to use. So it's a pretty easy database. It has 100 data points, and it has a few fields which we can use as the filter criteria. For example, the country, we have 4 countries that were listed, and we want to be able to sum the base pay for all the people in the database based on the criteria here. So in order to do this, the first thing that I encourage you to do is actually to name your data. So what I would do is I select both the heading and all the data. To do that, you go Shift, Control, and then arrow down to select all the data, including the heading, and then you go to formula, you go to the defined names and then create from selection, where you select the top row to name all the fields. So if you want to know more about how to do this, I have another video on this for on the top right, which you can see more details on how to calculate with names. But this is how we're going to use the top row, and then OK. So now what's happening is that when we go to the name manager under formulas, you will see that we actually have already named all our data based on the heading row. And this will become very handy when we later use the formula here. Okay, so now let's start with all the criteria here. So start with a simple one. So we want to be able to sum if the country is equal to Canada. So to do that, we go Sumifs, bracket. We want to sum the column of base salary, but then instead of choosing all the cells, which you need to scroll down pretty much like a long list, you don't need to do that. What you need to do here is actually just type in base, and then you can see when you go arrow down, you can see the base salary here, and then now you select base salary and then click tab. Here we go. So that's how you select the sum range, and then now you select the criteria range, which in our case is country. So we do the same thing. You type in country, find the country, press tab to select the range, and then select the criteria. So our criteria here is equal to Canada. So you make sure you have double quote Canada and then close the bracket. And here we go. So the answer, I put the right answers on the right so that you can cross-check to make sure the number is correct. But if this is the formula that we use, which is nice and clean, this should be the right number that we have. Okay. Criteria second is, what if we want to sum all the base salary for countries not equal to Canada? Well, it is actually not that hard. So you still go for Sumifs, and then you go for base salary, country, and then for the criteria, you just have double quote, not equal Canada, close it. And here you go, you have all the numbers that you need. What if we want to sum the base salary for a country that is either Canada or USA? For this, it's a little bit tricky, which means that you will need to use the formula of array, but then just copy what I type in here and then you should be fine. So again, you select your sum range, your criteria range, which is still the country, and then you need to type in your criteria, which is the first one is Canada, double quote, and then the second one is USA. However, what you need to do here is to close it with the array braces like this, or you can actually go with Shift Control Enter, and then you can also add the array braces for you as well. And then you close the Sumif. If you click Enter now, note that it gives you a number that equals Canada, so it still only count for Canada. It does not count for US. What should we do now? So actually the next step you need to do is to add a sum function outside the Sumifs and then close it. Here you go. So that is how easy it is. Just make sure that you use the array formula there. Okay, so the next one is that, okay, we don't want it to be a specific value. We want it to be a greater or less number of a specific value. For example, we want the comp ratio. We have all kinds of comp ratio here. We want the comp ratio to be equal. We want to sum the salary for everyone whose comp ratio is greater than 100%. It is not that hard actually. So what you need to do is this time you type in comp ratio tab, and then type in your formula. So our formula says that it's greater than 100%, double quote. Here you go. That is how easy it is. And then you actually do the same thing even when it's not a number but a time. It is, for example, here we want to select the base salary sum for everyone who's hired before 2000 January 1st. Again, you use Sumifs and then base salary, and then make sure you select date of hire this time. Select that range, and then for the time, for the criteria, if the date is before that date, that means that it's smaller than the date. And you know what, you just type in the date in the standard format and then close it, and you get the number you want. And it is very similar even if you have a period that you want to cover. For example, if we want to sum the base salary for everyone who is hired between 1997 and 2000, so you actually sum ifs the base salary. So the first criteria is that the date of hire has to be greater than January 1st, 1997. So what you need to do is to select the date of hire, double quote, greater than 1997, and then select it again. Select the date of hire again because that's another criteria, but this time less than 2000 January the 1st. So basically you have one criteria, but then you have two constraints. And then close your Sumifs. Here you go. The next one is what if you need to sum if with multiple criteria. Actually, we have already did it in the last example, but it's just slightly different here. So if we want to select all the people with performance rating 4, then you just select the performance rating data set column, and then select the criteria which is equal to 4. You don't really need to type in the equal sign here. And then the next criteria range, which is country. So we select country, and then you select not equal to UK. And this is how you calculate it. What if I want to calculate the sum of base pay for all the departments that contains sales? So for example, in my example, I have a department sales, I have department of sales operations, I also have services sales. So how do I sum all of them up with just one formula? So for that, you need to use the tax the tax norms, which I will show you in a moment. So you still select base salary. The criteria is based on the department data set. So you see it's selected. Now your criteria is double quote. And then you need to select everything that contains cells, but then it could have something before it and something after it. So what you need to do is to have an asterisk or a star before the cells text, and then a star after, and then close your double quote. So that way you cover all the text that has something before cells or not, or something after cells or not. So let's close that, and then you see here is how we get to the answer. Okay, so we now get to the ninth criteria, and this one is actually what I consider to be the most tricky one. So this is we want to calculate the result of the sum of base salary for employees with employee ID that starts with 5308. So it could be this number, but it could be other numbers as well. So let's see if we can do this with the regular way of doing things. So you select base pay, and then you select the employee ID criteria. And then we also want to use the double quote 5308. And then we use asterisk, or we can also use a question mark wildcard. This will the question mark will replace just one letter or number, versus the star can replace a lot more than one letter or number. So let's close it and see what happens. No, this time it actually doesn't work. It doesn't give us the desired answer we want. So what's wrong here? So what is really wrong here is that the employee ID, it looks like it is actually treated as a number in our data set. But when we do the Sumif, we actually want to treat it as a text. We don't want to treat it as a number. So if it's a number, then it wouldn't be able to find out the 5308 as we want to. So we actually have to change all these things that looks like a number and is a number to a text. How do we do that? Well, to do that, here's a trick. So let's say this is employee ID text. So this is my trick of doing it, and this can be handy especially when you have a large set of data to deal with. So what I always do is to add apostrophe. So when we have a number that we want to change to text, what we need to do is to add this apostrophe before it. So what I'm doing now is I'm selecting the apostrophe. I will make an absolute reference by pressing F4, and then I'm concatenating it with the number format employee ID. So this is how it looks, and then let me copy down the formula so everything looks the same. The formula is copied down. Now, with all of that, I'm copying and paste as values. And then now, when you come out of no, I haven't done that yet. So I need to copy. So see, I copy everything, and then I paste it as values. Or you go to paste special and then paste as values, and then you go OK. And then you see, when you see the sign, it means that you're doing it right. And then go escape. So you see the difference here, that you see the green triangle on the top left, then it means that this is a text. Like this is now a text format number. And what you need to do here is actually, you can do it in multiple ways. It might be easier if I just copy all the numbers and then copy it to the employee ID column. Make sure make sure I'm copying as text format. And then now you see the formula that we used to have, used to not be working, is working now. So this is how it works. And you have to be very helpful with numbers that should be treated as text. Okay, so the last one is, what if we want to, like, let's say we made some marks, and then for our employees, we have added the asterisk mark to some employees, and we want to sum only people that contains the asterisk mark. So what's funny is that if you just do it like any other sign, you actually wouldn't get what you want. So we select employee name, and then if we say, okay, we want to do it as a star, like that. Let's see how it works. You see, like, it actually selects every single person in the data set. So in order to make this work, you actually need to change this part to star, and then this thing, and then star, and then star. And here we go. So this is how you can really master any kind of scenarios with Sumifs. And actually, if you need to do similar things with Averageif and Countifs, you just change the Sumif to Averageif and Countifs, and it should give you the desired results as well. So this is everything I want to share with you about the 10 criteria and the tricks about Sumif, average, and Countifs. So if you find it helpful, please like and subscribe to my channel. If you have any other question, just leave me a comment and I will be really happy to answer it.